Another thing that's really powerful when we're working within these workspaces is being able to define what we have for information in one place and have it flow to another place so that we're not in the business of doing double documentation all over. So a good example of that is anytime that we know that we have a certain set of individuals that are going to be tasked with certain roles and responsibilities, that might be useful for us to capture within a contact list, as well as the project schedule, as well as potentially elsewhere within the workspace too. So knowing that if we define things right in one place, having it flow to the next, that's what I want to tackle next. So taking a look at what we have for the contacts list, we can see at a glance this is fairly straightforward. Not a whole lot going on, not very complicated, pretty intuitive and easy to approach. Anybody who's used to working with an Excel or any other spreadsheet program, you're going to do just fine with this. What we do have pre-configured here are some different roles. These are all configurable in whatever way you need to based on whatever you have for your project plan. But it is worth noting that the contact information that we'll enter here, once we put it here, depending on what we define for the role, we can have that populate elsewhere within the project schedule, for example. We'll show that in just a minute or two. If I want to go ahead and define the project manager for this role here, and let's also say that we're defining somebody as a lead analyst. I'll go ahead and hit save. Coming back to what we have for the project schedule, this is where it's going to be really useful for us to be able to track not only what is the task that we're working on, when are we working on it, but go one step further and say who is actually working on it. So here's where we're going to scroll over to the right and be able to take a look at what we have for roles and then owners for some of the different responsibilities. So for the first item that we're going to tackle here, being able to identify sponsors and doing the project kickoff, that's typically something that we would expect the project manager to at least sit at the point position for being able to coordinate those efforts. So I'm going to go ahead and add project manager. And as I do that, I can see that Mickey Mouse is automatically populated for me. Again, one less thing that I have to worry about. Another benefit of this is, let's say, for example, Mickey gets pulled off of this assignment to go work on something else. We have a new project manager that needs to get assigned. Rather than having to change this everywhere Mickey's name might appear all throughout all the documentation, if we make this update once in the right way on the contacts list, everything just percolates throughout the rest of the workspace in just the right way. So another way that this is really powerful for us. Let's add a couple more entries here so we can actually see what this looks like for anything else beyond just that single entry. Once we get down to what we have for some of the other activities that we want to try and manage and maintain, let's say we're getting down to the build process. This is not something a project manager would typically be owning. So let's go ahead and add the person that we think would be the right person for this based on the roles that we have available to us. As expected, we're now seeing Donald Duck's name populated here. So let's say, for instance, that beyond the work that Donald is helping to coordinate on the application side of things, we might have a dedicated testing lead. So I've selected the role here, but as you can see, nothing's populating. That makes a lot of sense because we haven't defined that role yet. Let's go back into the contact list and let's fix that real fast. So for a testing lead, let's go ahead and say Goofy is our point person for that. And jumping back into the project schedule, we can now see that Goofy's name has been populated as you'd expect. So going through and actually defining who are the roles that we expect to be playing point for any of the tasks that we have listed in the project schedule, that's going to be really useful for us, especially once we have that in such a way that it can marry up with what we've got listed in our contact list. One less thing for us to worry about, and also gives us a lot of flexibility if we need to make any adjustments further down the road.